because believe it or not, a lot of them haven't been. But yet they aren't particularly concerned that the diesel heater they've got doesn't meet the high European standards. Hello, temperatures have started to drop, so that probably means it's time to turn the heating on in your camper van. But what if you haven't got heating? You have four main options which I'll talk about: electric, gas, diesel, and one other, which may well actually be the easiest one to do. There are other heaters available like petrol heaters, but most of all, whilst we're talking about a Volkswagen Transporter camper van, not many of you are going to have petrol vans. And there's also wood burners, but it is a small van, so really a wood burning stove isn't ideal. There are lots of different heating options out there, and we're going to talk about them today, including some where you can actually have a shower, flowing hot water in your transporter, and even touch on budget options and a problem which I did come across. Let's begin with electric. Now, electric is a really good source of power for your camper van, but only when you're on grid. Now, most of us are going to be traveling around in our camper vans, going to different places, and we're not always going to be able to guarantee that we're going to have electric hookup. So, as we've not, then this isn't probably the best option for us. Electric heaters, whether they're 12 volt, 230 volt, infrared heaters, oil-filled radiators, they're extremely power-hungry devices, and it's going to chew through the leisure batteries you've got very, very quickly. So if you are off-grid and you use an electric heater, it's not going to last very long on your leisure battery alone. It's probably going to drain your batteries in a couple of hours tops, which isn't going to be ideal, because the other additional problem which you're going to have is how are you going to recharge that battery the next day, especially if you're talking about winter, which we are. The solar power, the panels are not going to be generated in as much power as they are doing in the heat of the summer when the sun is really, really strong. So if you are considering electric and you're not going to be hooked up, it's something which you do need to consider seriously. Electric isn't the best option when you're going to be off grid, but when you are hooked up, these are great sources of electric, and they can also come in as a good backup device. A lot of people use these if they've got other forms of heating in the van. You actually use the electric for in the awning or the tent which they've got. There's lots of different options available for electric heaters at varying different price points. You can pick up a decent one for less than £50. I particularly prefer the ones which are ceramic heated rather than resistive wires, because they are a lot safer. And also, if you are looking at the electric heaters, make sure that you are looking out for ones which have got safety features on them. So if you knock them over, they will automatically turn off and things like that. A very popular one, which I know a lot of people use, is the Camper Cuboid, which I think is about 40 quid. And it's just a small compact electric heater which you can plug in and take that chill off. It isn't the most powerful, but it is going to help you. So what other options have we got? Well, as I've mentioned, gas. And I'm not going to be discussing today the portable open flame gas heaters, because I'm personally not a fan. I have witnessed a fire from one of these many years ago, and I've never liked them ever since. I will be talking about the systems which are fully integrated into your van. And now is a good time to be mentioning the essential items which you do need to have in your van. Everybody who's got a camper van should have these items, and I'm pretty sure that you will have them already. But that's a smoke alarm, the carbon alarm, fire blanket, fire extinguisher, and also the appropriate ventilation, which you do need. If you haven't got these items, you can have a look at my Amazon store, because I've got them all neatly listed in there. But you really, really do need to consider getting them from wherever you're going to get them from. If you've not got them, they are absolute essentials for your camper van. Anyway, a fixed system gas heater is a really, really good option for anybody who's going to be using the vehicle off grid. And I'm not necessarily talking about sleeping in the van off grid, just people who are going to be using the van away from hookup. So if you go on a day out, you go down to the beach or you go for a walk somewhere and it's a little bit cold, well, you can get back to a nice warm and toasty van because you've got your heater in there, which doesn't need to be plugged into the electricity. Now, this kind of setup can be used from gas bottles, which it often is for caravans, but when you're talking about a camper van, you're generally talking about an underslung tank, which again actually saves space from inside your van. You don't have that area which you're going to need to house that gas locker because it's underneath the van. So that's generally the route that a lot of people go down, and especially some of the converters. These are efficient to run, quick to heat up, generally controlled by a thermostat, and they've got all the modern technology of programmable panels, so you can actually set the timer, and some of them can be controlled by mobile phone as well. There are several different brands which you can buy: Whale, Propec, Truma, and even Aldi, as in ALDE, although I'm not sure if they would actually fit a system for a camper van. They're generally on the motorhomes and the caravans, because they actually have a wet central heating system rather than the blown air, which these systems are. Now, these systems are obviously more expensive than the 50 quid plug-in heater, and they do have to be installed by a gas safe registered engineer, which really is important. It's gas, don't take any chances, make sure it is fitted properly. And while you're there with the gas engineer, you could actually ask him, has your gas hob been fitted in line with the manufacturer's installation instructions? Because believe it or not, a lot of them haven't been. So gas is a good option, especially when you've got that underslung tank and it's going to save that room within the van. Prices are more than the electric heaters, like I've said, and they start from around £550, excluding fitting. That is something else which you're going to have to factor in. But is there better? How about diesel heaters? Now, the likelihood is you've got a diesel van anyway, so you're not going to need any additional tanks fitted. But if you had a petrol van or another alternative fuel van, then you can actually get separate diesel tanks which are available for purely the diesel heater to run off. Now, diesel heaters are extremely popular for the Volkswagen campervans, and for good reason. They're economical to run, quiet in operation if you buy a good one, and can come with programmable timers, and with some of them even having mobile app control, so you can control them whilst you're away from the van just on your mobile phone. Really quite good technology. Perfect for when you're on your way back to your van and you want to make sure that heating's on when you get back, so you're nice and toasty. You can just put it on your mobile phone and off you go. Heating's coming on, nice and toasty when you get back. There are several manufacturers here, and certainly a controversial topic with the Chinese diesel heaters. Everybody's got their own opinion on those. Now, one thing I've found really interesting about this, a lot of people will be really keen to tell you that they've got an M1 crash tested bed and pop top, but yet they aren't particularly concerned that the diesel heater they've got doesn't meet the high European standards. Kind of doesn't really make sense that they're happy the bed's certified, but they're not that bothered about the diesel heater, which could actually cause some problems, isn't. Anyway, people have got a choice and they can make their own decisions. Now, the cheaper end of the market does start at about £100, or if you're looking for a European brand, then the prices start from around £500. Now, there are several brands here. You've got Autoterm, Webasto, Eberspacher, all at different price points, all with slightly different features. And I've said prices start from around £500, but that is excluding fitting. So are you going to be fitting that yourself? Now, this is a problem which I came across with a Chinese diesel heater, wanting to find out exactly what they're all about. But I actually approached converters, and the converters wouldn't actually fit the diesel heater for me because, well, they had their own stories, which I will come on to in a later video. But that was a problem for me, that they weren't willing to fit this heater. So make sure that if you are buying a heater to take somewhere to have fitted, that they will actually fit the heater which you've got. And also, a lot of these converters have got deals with the companies. So speak to the converters about it if you aren't going to be fitting it yourself, because you might actually get a better deal. Now, before I summarise the pros and cons of each of these different types of heating, there are two more things. Now, I did mention a shower, and there's a few different options for this. Now, we are short of space on the Volkswagen Transporter. If you've got the long wheelbase, then you do have a lot more to play with. Now, you could potentially get a Truma Combi, which is exactly as it says. It's heating and hot water, and it's powered by electric and also gas, and that will give you, I think it's a 10 litre water capacity to give you hot water so you can have a shower and things. Now, that might be a bit big and also a bit on the pricey side for your Volkswagen, but there is another option, and that's Bobel Vans. Now, they've got this great system, and they've actually got a few different options where you can just have the water heater which connects to your diesel heater, and it warms up the water so you can have hot running water. But they've also got one which runs on 12 volts and 240 volts, or actually both, and the air as well. So you've got three different options for heating this water. So it can give you hot water in your transporter. Some good options there, and some which I'm going to be looking into a little bit more. Anyway, the fourth option, other than your electric, gas and your diesel, and that is warming yourself, heating yourself rather than heating the van. Now, this could be in the form of clothing, blankets, electric blankets, hot water bottle, or you could even get a really good quality sleeping bag which is made for people camping outside in the winter. You can actually use that instead of buying one of these systems. Yeah, the van itself is going to be cold, so you might have a bit of a condensation problem, But that comes down to your ventilation, which you're still going to need even if you've got these other sources of heat. The diesel heater does produce that dry air, but you're still going to have to crack open those windows, make sure that you've got some good air circulating through it. So you're still going to have that condensation. But yeah, you could just heat yourself rather than actually heating the van. Not really going to suggest that if you've got young children though. Probably not an idea. You probably would be better to actually heat the van and make sure you've got a nice warm comfy environment for them. Just another option. So there's lots of pros and cons for each of these different fuel sources. So let's take a look at them. First of all, the electric. So the pros: it's cheap, it's not going to cost you a lot of money to buy it. It's portable, you can move it around. Good for your awning whilst you're on hookup. And some of them have the added safety features, so they automatically switch off if something goes wrong. As far as cons are concerned, they will quickly drain your battery. Really, hookup is needed. You would also require quite a reasonable size one for a van. A lot of the other heaters for the diesel and the gas, they might be 2 or 3 kilowatt. Is it going to be sufficient for you? They also can be quite noisy if it's a fan heater. So what about gas? And the pros? Well, gas is cost effective to run. They are really quite efficient. They don't use an awful lot of gas. Thermostat controlled. When it reaches temperature, it can automatically turn off. And they do heat up really quickly. As far as the cons are concerned for gas, well, it does require that professional installation, which isn't going to come cheap. And the initial cost of the unit itself could be on the costly side, especially if you've not got an underslung tank. That is going to add to that initial cost. But if you're buying a brand new van, a lot of them now are coming with underslung tanks. Now, diesel and the pros, well, it's cheap to run. You've already got that fuel in the van. You're probably not likely to run out because you'd have made sure that you do have enough diesel in there. It can be controlled remotely. It's a nice dry heat, effective in lower temperatures, which is a benefit. It also quickly heats the van. The heat comes out of that ducting and gets spread around the van really nicely. And some of the diesel heaters, you can actually get some good warranties from the manufacturers. The cons for a diesel heater, well, some of them can actually be noisy, but that is dependent on which one you actually buy. Some of them can be smoky, can be a little bit smelly. Other people may be camping close to you because you've got the exhaust fumes coming out of your van. Some people might not appreciate that. So all in all, each of these different fuel sources have got the pros and the cons. Which one's for you? What have you got in your van? Do let me know. And coming up soon, I've got another frightening video. And if you didn't see the last one about the dangerous camper van, you can see that here. For now, take care. Thanks for watching.